Welcome into the Mike Herndon Show, week 4. And we're finally going to be talking about a Titans victory after several weeks into the season now. I am Mike Herndon. I'm joined by Easton, our producer and the director of published content for BroadwaySportsMedia.com. And, of course, that's the website that we are brought to you by as well. And welcome in.
Hey, Mike. How are you, man?
I'm good. It's a little easier to talk about this game than it was the week 2 debacle. So
No
this
kidding.
a little bit more fun to discuss.
Yeah, definitely going to be more fun and uplifting this episode. Also, I think going to be different than the episodes we've done so far. We've got a lot of film to go over that you want to get into this week, and we're going to be putting a lot of that out for free this week. So a little bonus to those of you stingy, greedy dirtbags out there that just won't pay for a Broadway Insider pass. You should, because half of this show is still going to be behind the paywall, but a good bit of it is going to be out in front of the paywall and public for everybody to get maybe a little sneak peek as to what they're missing out on the Mike Herndon Show. Give you a reason to go and subscribe. Let's just dive into this film that you've pulled a number of clips here from the Titans-Raiders matchup this past week, and it kind of is all-encompassing. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics. The first of which that you want to get into here is what worked so well in the first half. So I guess we're going to stay on that positive theme and talk about what went so well for the first half. The Titans looked really good.
Yeah, the Titans obviously came out, scored on their first 3 possessions, touchdowns. And, you know, the defense was a little shaky out of the gates. They gave up a field goal and a touchdown on the first 2 drives before settling in and playing pretty well towards the end of the first half. But the offense really came out hot, had their best game, obviously, of the season to this point. And I think the biggest thing that really buoyed their performance this week was getting back to the run game and getting the run game going. And I think some of that is the Raiders defense maybe isn't as stout up front as certainly the Bills and you know, maybe, you know, you could maybe even argue the Giants. But the Titans did look better. They looked more cohesive in the run game. They brought out a few interesting wrinkles and concepts that we'll get into here. But we can start with kind of a bread and butter play that the Titans love to run. And it's just, you know, their basic outside zone. And this is one they hit several times in the game. And you can see, I think the biggest difference this week from a run game standpoint was Henry's decisiveness. I thought he was very decisive in this game. We still didn't see any of the like necessarily like breakaway speed or home run plays necessarily, but it was a better performance from Henry. And you can see this is a good example of that. You know, Nate Davis does not really get the reach on his block there, but Henry sees it immediately, is able to cut it back and get upfield, break a few tackles and pick up a good chunk gain early in the game. And another thing to point out here, I thought Aaron Brewer had by far his best game of the season so far. And this is a really great backside block by him. That's exactly how they teach it in practice, getting your inside, or I guess getting your outside arm inside of that shoulder pad and almost kind of forklifting that guy up. So you're trying to get in, get leverage, and then raise him up and run with him. So you're running the track with him. That's exactly how they coach it in practice. And Brewer did a great job on that play and really created that running lane for Henry there. And this next one is going to be similar play call, flip to the opposite side. This time they're going to get, you'll see Dennis Daly. Keep an eye on him at the front side of this play. He actually trips and falls and doesn't block anybody.
I noticed this during the game. This is the one thing besides Henry that I took away from this play, and it was one of the things I was looking for when I came back and watched it. But you're right. Despite Dennis Daly, this is a pretty good play for the Titans. and he's right. Here he is on the ground wondering what's going on, despite his failed effort here to block anybody. There's your boy right there.
Exactly. And the funny thing here is this is kind of, you know, you go back and you talk about like offensive line chemistry. And this is one of those things that I think it has to be worked out. And when you're putting a new player into a position, playing next to guys that he hasn't played against or played next to before, these are some of the things that are going to happen. These things, offensive line blocking is very choreographed and synchronized, and like they have to be tight in their movements. And Aaron Brewer is so quick. I mean, for an offensive lineman, he is super, super quick. And he gets out of his stance so fast, and Daly's just a beat slow, and he just steps right on his foot. Like, that's not Brewer's fault. Daly's got to get out of his stance quicker there. But it's something that Daly's going to have to get used to playing next to Brewer, because Brewer is a freak athlete. Obviously undersized, but he is a freak athlete for a guard, and it is going to be different playing next to him versus playing next to other guys. But that was a really well blocked play that the Titans were able to, overcome. Daly obviously not contributing, which on the front side of a run is pretty impressive. But we can jump into another wide zone here. Again, Titans bread and butter type of play. And you've got one thing I want to point out on this one. You've got new signing Kevin Rader over from the Steelers practice squad. He's the outside.
You were big on him as a blocker this week, despite a little bit of ridicule for being high on Mr. Rader here.
I mean, it's the most Titans tightening of all time. They signed a big lumbering tight end off the Steelers practice squad and play him more snaps than Chikakonkwo. But look, he had a really nice game as a blocker, both in the pass game and in the run game. They did bring him in. They kept him in to block and help out the tackles several times, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But this is a really nice combination block by Daly and Brewer on the front side. And then Nate Davis is really the guy I want to highlight on this one. Watch what Nate Davis does from an athletic standpoint to go get Jayon Brown. The angle he had to play on this was almost impossible. I mean, Brown is a gap and a half ahead of him at the snap, and he goes and gets him, gets enough of him to be able to give Henry something to work off of, and that is phenomenal.
He's having to run nearly fully east-west there to get to the right place.
To get a 225-pound guard as a 320-pound tackle, or 225-pound linebacker as a 320-pound guard.
And not just crazy. Block him that direction. You then have to get there and block him back the other way, which is the hard part, right?
Yeah. That is a really tough block, and it is super impressive what he's able to do there. And then you also get Jeff Swaim doing a good job finishing his block downfield here too. It really, really well blocked play. Like this is prime Titans football right here. Running this wide.
I believe it was their biggest run of the week, if I'm not mistaken. I think this was the longest play.
It was. I think it may be the longest run of the season. Actually,
it may be. I think it may be the only run they've had this year over 20 yards right there. Yeah.
So those are their bread and butters, and they were able to hit several of those. Those were three of the best, obviously. But then they also were able to throw in some new wrinkles, which I really liked. They had this counter, this kind of power counter look that they were able to block up well. You see Torrey Carter getting the lead block in there, running behind again. Brewer and that interior trio, I thought did a really nice job in this game. You see Jeff Swaim getting down to the second level and getting a good block on Jayon Brown again here. It is Jayon Brown that he gets. But they do a really nice job blocking this up. And this counter look, it's something that they've done before. Like this isn't brand new to them, but it's something that they're featuring a little bit more frequently this year than they have in years past. And I think it's a good look for them because it does give them something to kind of pause these linebackers and these defensive linemen from over pursuing, because a lot of times you see first movement, these guys get on their horse and go because they're trying to beat Henry out to the spot against these wide zone runs that they know the Titans love. Well, when you get a little bit of a counter look, you're able to get them maybe taking a step wrong and then give better angles for your offensive line to be able to create some space for Henry in the run game. So I really liked this. And then the very next play, watch what they do. This is the very next snap.
Well, hang on, Mike. Before we get to that, I wanted to play the layman real quick. If some of our viewers aren't as up to date, in tune with some of the technical X's and O's vernacular that we're using. What's different about this counter look from their wide zone that they like to run?
So basically, wide zone is a more or less diagonal run. The back is taking a path that takes him to generally the outside hip of the tackle, and then the offensive line is all blocking in that same direction and trying to create lanes for whether it be on the front side or as a cutback. But here you're going to see Nate Davis, the right guard, pull. You're going to see Derrick Henry take a counter step, so he's going to fake, go into the right, and then come back left. And then Torrey Carter taking that kind of weaving path around Tannehill, starting right and then weaving back left to go into the hole. So the idea is you're trying to send the linebackers just a step to the right to create better angles for your offensive line and your tight ends and your fullback to be able to create this crease off of the left side. So they do a really nice job blocking it up there.
Right.
And I love this counter to the counter that they threw out here.
Yeah, this is that next play right after that play we just showed.
And they show again a counter step, but then they throw the reverse to Burks here. And honestly, if you really look at this play, this nearly goes for 6. Watch Nicholas Petit-Frere. He needs to cut back and take that.
This last safety. Yep.
He needs to take that safety because Swaim has the corner, right? Swaim has the corner dialed out. I'm not sure why he was looking for the corner there.
He sees his man just a tick too late. If he committed earlier, that probably would have gone all the way down inside the 5 at the very least.
Yeah, you're at least getting a one-on-one with Burks against this, this deep safety that's coming up. But I mean, right there, that's blocked up about as well as you could get it, short of Petit-Frere getting a piece of that safety, or a little bit more of that safety than what he did get. So really nice layering of plays there from the Titans offensive staff. And, that's the kind of stuff that you want to see more of. Haven't been able to build off of different concepts and layer plays to where you're really starting to mess with the eyes and how much linebackers can trust what they're seeing. And then there's one more counter that they throw off of that counter look that we already showed. And here is, an RPO run. They're out of shotgun, but you'll see Aaron Brewer, the left guard, number 55, at the snap. He's pulling, which gives the linebackers are generally keying the center guard or guard, center guard.
Guard, center guard, right.
So that is generally their key, and they're watching where those guys go because that's generally going to take them to the football. Well, when Brewer pulls, that's going to pull the attention of this linebacker, number 5 here, Divine Diablo, who is got one of the coolest names in football.
What's his Divine Diablo?
Divine Diablo.
That's an amazing name. I wasn't even familiar with Mr. Diablo. That's fantastic.
And but you see his reaction here. Like he is moving. He's going for that
immediately crashes the middle here.
Yeah, hard. He's biting hard on the play fake, which opens up this window for an easy completion to Robert Woods for roughly 15 yards. This is as easy pitch and catch throw as you can get. With Woods getting free access on the inside, the linebacker being pulled out of position by the fake. So them running that counter previously and showing them that pulling guard gives him something else to think about. So again, it's layering plays, and it's super important to this offense to be able to have that misdirection and to keep defenses on their toes. And I thought they did a really nice job of that, especially in the first half, obviously. But as we'll get into a little bit later, I thought the second half was actually not as bad as what maybe it looked like.
Okay. So maybe more of an execution issue as opposed to a play calling issue.
Exactly. And one other thing, here that I really liked about what they did, or actually we've got 2 more, but this one, this is something that is relatively new for the Titans. Not that they've never done it before, but they've never done it to this degree before. Linebackers against the Titans get a lot of depth. When they read pass, they are taught to get depth because they are looking for these crossers, all kinds of, anything running behind them over the middle. That is where the Titans have feasted over the past 3 years in this offense. And when those linebackers start to back off, that opens up a lot underneath. And frankly, Derrick Henry has been such a infrequently used passing threat that teams just don't even care about Henry. They ignore Henry as a passing threat, and they just let, if they're going to throw the ball to Henry, so be it. But we're not going to let you beat us with those crossers. And so the Titans hit these checkdowns to Henry a bunch in this game, and I thought it was a great way.
He's their leading targeted player, leading receptions, 5 on the day, I believe.
Yeah. So
just look at the space that they're giving him here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the linebacker.
This second one. Look at this.
Yeah.
He's the most islanded player on the entire field right here. There's nobody close to him.
Are 15 yards downfield. So I mean, there's nobody home. And the other thing that this does is it helps Tannehill. It gives you an outlet, and they'll run a play in the second half that'll highlight that I didn't really like, even though it was open. But I like them giving Tannehill checkdowns, because in the past they've been almost a burn the ships kind of offense, and that if they're going to pass, they're going for it. Like, they're going for the chunk play. They're going to go max protect, and they're going to run these deep routes downfield. Well, guess what? If nobody's there, that's how you end up taking a bunch of sacks, because you don't have the check down options. You don't have the, break glass in case of emergency, pitch to Henry standing 10 feet in front of you. Just nothing's there. So them incorporating this, I think, gives Tannehill that kind of fallback plan, helps keep them on schedule too, because if they're going to give you that on a regular basis, then, by all means, take those 5-10 yard chunks all the way down the field. And if defenses do have to start respecting Henry and coming up and watching him in the pass game, that's going to open the crossers back up.
Exactly.
So it's toying with the defense and their tendencies and kind of working on taking what they give you, so to speak. And I thought the Titans did a much better job of that this week. And I really liked the approach that they had offensively. And then one more thing that I really liked in the first half, this Treylon Burks play, his only catch of the game, obviously, but I loved them going ISO here. It's a lot's been made out of him being mostly a slot receiver at Arkansas. A lot of his yards coming off of screens, coming off of, go balls and stuff like that. Here's him winning against press man in an ISO situation as the X receiver. The Titans really do have him on the A.J. Brown track. Like, A.J. Brown had a similar path into the league. It was converted to an X receiver. And here's Treylon Burks doing some of the things that A.J. Brown did for them. And I love this physical route for him. Like, watch him get that right hand and just a little throw by on the shoulder. They're never going to call that crap. They just aren't. Nope. It doesn't happen.
Always commit OPI, baby. Always.
Exactly. Be as physical as you can in your routes. And with Burks, especially, as big as he is, as strong as he is, he needs to be doing this almost every snap. He'll be borderline unstoppable if he does. Yes. But I love them getting him an ISO snap and Tannehill going to him quickly. I mean, he sees the matchup and he's going there right away. So I really like seeing that. I want to see more of it. And I think Burks, despite not having a huge production game, I thought he played really well in this game. He was open a couple other times. We'll get to a couple of clips that'll show that. But I still think the arrow very much pointing up for Treylon Burks.
So that's the first half. And that was all a lot of positive things that we saw from the Titans in a half that looked like, I mean, I said after the game that if they can distill that half and well, actually the opposite, expand that into a full game on a regular basis, that's a team that's competitive in the AFC. That's a team that is going to hang with anybody, I think. But on the contrary, in the second half, if this is the team that they are on a regular basis, this is a team that maybe ekes into the playoffs, but that's only because of the division they're in, right?
Yeah, it was, the second half was rough, but my initial reaction after the game was same old Titans. They got too conservative. They tried to, nurse this lead across the finish line, hoping that the defense just wouldn't give up any points in the second half or whatever. But honestly, the play calling wasn't terribly conservative. I wrote a good bit about this week at paulkarski.com about the play calling tendencies in the second half. They ran 6 of 7 1st and 10s where Henry carries. Don't love them being that committed to just 1st and 10 always goes to Henry. But on 2nd and 3rd downs, they pass the ball on 11 of 15 of those 2nd and 3rd down snaps. So the overall run pass ratio was roughly even. And it was not as conservative as I thought it was. It was conservative, but it was not so extreme that it should have failed. Honestly, they were let down by execution more so than anything. We can look at a few examples of that.
So here's one that, it distills that execution problem exactly. And we were talking about this before the show. This is something the Twitter sphere loved to just explode on Ryan Tannehill for throwing an interception because it's easy and fun. And people like to rip on him. But this was something that I think anybody, if you were using your brain and your eyeballs, it was pretty clear at the time. He didn't miss this badly. This wasn't a poor decision. This was a miscommunication between quarterback and receiver.
Yeah, and it's a 3rd and I believe it's 11 was the down and distance
3rd
here.
and long, yep.
And part of that was they ran the ball on 1st down, then they got 2 consecutive penalties that pushed
which
them
were
back.
Killing them in the second half. The penalties were, just bad.
Right. And they ended up at 2nd and 20. They got a completion to Henry to get it down to 3rd and 11. And then they run this play. And look, Woods is a veteran receiver. And I get it. He's not the guy that you would expect to make this mistake, but he very clearly is running his route about 5 to 7 yards too deep. I think he misses this cut by at least 2 full steps. And you can just see it. Look at the timing. Watch when Tannehill hits the back of his drop and lets it go. Now he's got to throw this before Woods goes into his break. That's the way it has to be timing wise, especially against man coverage. This is what they
the ball was already out here and Woods isn't even starting to make his break.
Yeah. Woods hasn't even started to sit down yet.
You can see the ball just barely, the little blip right here on the 35-yard line. And he's just getting his head around. Meanwhile, the safety or deep corner here at the 47-yard line is eyeing this ball all the way.
Yeah. It's the safety comes over and makes an easy pick, and it looks like, oh, what a terrible throw. If Woods is where he's supposed to be, I'm confident that ball is where it's supposed to be. And Tannehill isn't always perfect, but he was very good in this game, and this is 100% on Woods. But that's
where you've arrowed his route where you believe it should have gone.
Yes.
Here, breaking just past the 35-yard line, right to the stick at the 1st down marker. Look at where the defender catches this ball.
Yeah.
He catches it around that area and he catches it low.
Yeah.
I think the expectation there was that Woods around the 35, 37-yard line would high point this ball and get just enough for a first.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at the other routes also, there is, I think it's maybe Swaim. And then on the backside, you've got Burks is running a fly. And then I believe that's NWI at the 35-yard line running an in cut. All those routes are breaking at the same time. This is a play where Tannehill picks the matchup that he likes best, and he is letting it rip on time regardless. So that is kind of a predetermined throw, but obviously it's not going to work unless the guy who's he predetermined to runs the route correctly.
Runs the right route. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is extremely clearly a Robert Woods interception there. And Woods had a great game otherwise, but not great. So that's how the first drive ends. Then you go to the second drive. They get the ball down, into the Raiders territory. It's 3rd and 1. Everyone lost their shit when Todd Downing called, anything but a Derrick Henry run on 3rd and short against the Giants. And then he calls this Derrick Henry run on 3rd and 1 here. And of course it gets blown up. And the reason it gets blown up is both of the tackles missed their blocks. You can see, Dennis Daly, our boy Double D on the left, kind of just puts his head down and allows himself to get swam over. It looked like maybe it should have been a double team between him and Swaim blocking down on Bilal Nichols there, but
the way he moves to the second level and continues to block almost makes you think that was a mental error as much as it was just a miss in terms of physical execution.
Very possible.
he leaves, Swaim engages, and he leaves him immediately to block at the second level, but Swaim does not have him.
Exactly. And there's no way Swaim should be expected to have him with that angle. I mean, he is blocking. You would not ask your tight end to block down a full gap on an inside run play on 3rd and 1. Like that's not happening. So to me, yeah, that is a Dennis Daly. And look, like it may just be that he whiffed on the guy and then he tried to recover and just block someone else. Fine. But either way, I think Dennis Daly misses the block. And despite that, the Titans would have been okay because if you watch Henry is actually going to make Nichols miss right there at the point.
Yep.
But Max Crosby is scot-free because he puts Nicholas Petit-Frere on his keister here.
He really does. Look at that.
I mean, that's a bad rep for our boy MPF.
Yeah.
And then Henry just has no chance. So your 2 tackles not covering themselves in glory here on this 3rd and 1. But otherwise, I mean, if you look at the interior 3, they get pretty good push and have some space for Henry to work with, but it's just not going to happen when you miss multiple blocks on the same play. So tough deal there. They obviously go to Burks on the following play. Ball is a little behind him. Maybe he could have caught it. Would have been a tough catch in my opinion. And so they turn the ball over on downs, but even going for it on 4th down, obviously not conservative, right?
No, I think I liked this decision in the moment. I think that, I don't know. What were your thoughts watching the game when they decided to do this?
Yeah, I agreed with it just because I like the aggressiveness. I like them trying to go, look, you're in that kind of area of the field anyways, with it being, plus territory, but not in field goal range. You're in the area of the field where it's pretty much, the analytics would say go for it every time on 4th and, short, which it was 4th and 4, but look, the play was there. It just wasn't executed. And there was a little bit of pressure on Tannehill on that play. But I like the decision overall to go for it, even though it backfired there. And then moving to the 3rd drive, this is a play from that 3rd drive. Tannehill, I'm not sure why he doesn't cut this ball loose to Burks, who is working
Right here
at the bottom of the screen.
Yep.
Burks wins the route. I mean, that is like, he's not wide open, but that's open. And Tannehill, it's kind of odd. He looks at him initially, and then it's like he wants to get a peek back to Woods, and then he comes back, and obviously it's too late by that point. This is one of those route combinations, though, that I was talking about earlier that I don't like. It's a max protect, but to me, if you're going to run max protect and run a 2-man route combination, give me something that's going to at least have some upside to it, because the upside on this play is maybe you squeak across, a 1st down here, maybe. But
there's no opportunity for yards after catch.
No, your max gain here is like 9 or 10 yards. So I don't love them going max protect just to throw a 10-yard out. It's just, to me, it's not necessary. One, if you can't get a 10-yard out off with your offensive line blocking without a ton of help, you're in a lot of trouble anyways. But not giving Tannehill anywhere to put this ball besides just chucking it into the stands, I don't love this play call. So this is one of the ones where I felt like partially on play calling, but also Tannehill needs to cut this loose to Burks.
And it's 2 routes that are, like we were talking about earlier, they're predetermined essentially. Yeah. I mean, he has to make this decision before either of them make their cut. They're identical routes.
Yeah.
So there's not any, I mean, he's just flipping a coin essentially.
Yeah, he's looking at, the matchup he likes better. And, he does look at Burks first, which tells me that he wanted to go there. But I'm not sure what he saw in that, because, to me, the corner's hips are always turned inside, which to me tells me that the throw's there. Like he's not going to undercut that. So I'm not entirely sure why he didn't go there. There was another throw that I thought Tannehill strangely didn't take, which this is on, I think this is the 4th drive of the second half. But they run, this play action screen, which they've hit before for some pretty big gains. And if you watch the play, if you composite where Tannehill looks to initially make the throw, and it's right there. Look, it's not perfect because the linebacker is like Ben Jones isn't quite there yet, out to get this linebacker who's coming downhill at Henry, but the linebacker's not close enough that he's going to make the play on the ball. The linebacker could hit Henry for a loss. I get it. You don't want to lose yardage on, I think this is second and
long.
Mm-hmm. So I get it. You don't want to lose yardage here, but you're also in the fourth quarter of a game that you're up by multiple scores at this point, and taking 40 seconds off the clock to me is very valuable in this situation. And look, there's also the opportunity that, hey, maybe Henry, if you put the ball on the right spot of Henry and lead him to turn back up inside, you give Jones a chance to maybe get a hand on that linebacker and push him past. And then you've got nothing but green grass for Derrick Henry. So I'm a little surprised he just dirted this thing. I thought the opportunity was there to at least make the throw and make the linebacker make a play on Derrick Henry in space, and maybe he would have, but again, I would have traded, a few yards for 40 seconds at that point in the game anyway. So
right. The time makes that a very different decision in my eyes. I think I agree with you. If it was just them, if they were in a situation where they needed to drive the field, mm-hmm. I'm not positive that would be a horrible decision just because of the third and long it would have put them in. But the fact that they weren't necessarily trying to drive nearly as much as they were just to end the game, right. That runoff would have been valuable for sure.
Yeah. But I did like the play call there. I like the idea of trying to get that and give them a safe throw. And then finally this strip sack, another kind of missed opportunity. And this one comes down to execution. This was late in the game. This might have been their final real drive, but it was outside of the kneel downs. And they try to go play action boot here. And this is a play that they run a good bit. NWI's got to get a better block on Max Crosby than this. And I know, like, asking
that's a tough matchup, man.
To block Crosby is tough, but I mean, he doesn't see him coming. He's just got to get enough of Crosby that Tannehill can get the angle. Because if you watch the play develop, Burks is wide open,
putting his hand up right there. Yep.
Yeah. So it is an unfortunate missed opportunity. Really,
here's Burks screaming down the middle. This is reminiscent of the preseason game where Malik just didn't see him screaming down the middle of the field. But Tannehill's a little preoccupied right here. He's got Max Crosby bearing down, breathing down his neck.
Yeah. It's tough, and yeah, NWI's got to get a better block on Crosby than he does there. But otherwise, maybe that could have been a play that basically ended the game, because that not only would have given the Titans a first down, but it probably would have put them out near midfield with very little time left in the game. So little opportunities like that this offense was not able to take advantage of. And it's a mixed bag. Like we just talked about, it's a missed block by a wide receiver. It's a missed block by two tackles. It's Tannehill not pulling the trigger on a couple passes. It's little things here and there more so than a big overarching problem for the Titans. And I think it's just, you hate to say it's just a coincidence that it happened in the second half, but I feel like it is. I feel like just watching the game, they didn't really do anything significantly different in the second half. They just didn't execute as well. So it's, I don't think the second half issues to me are like a huge concern right now. Obviously, you'd love to see that narrative get broken at some point, just because this team has traditionally been a very good second half team, and it is important to close games well, but they've done it well before. And honestly, I don't even mind them leaning on Henry a little bit more in the second half, because he has traditionally been such a good game closer for them.
Yeah.
I think eventually that stuff will work better. But in the meantime, I don't think the second half issues are anything necessarily structural within this team. I think it's a little bit of them being, basically blown out by the Bills by that point. They had a couple rough plays there, and the game got out of hand. They put in Malik Willis. And then the Giants game, I did think they got a little bit conservative in the second half and tried to nurse out a game where their defense was playing very well, and maybe they thought, we don't need to score that many more points. We just need to protect the ball. So I don't think that's like a endemic issue within the offense at this point.
Now, Mike, you're known as the rookie bully around here on these Titan streets. And first it was Traylon Burks in the preseason. Mr. Third Team Traylon became an internet sensation for all the wrong reasons. And now you're here to bully the star of the show lately, Nicholas Petit-Frere. Didn't have a
Yeah,
great game, turns out.
he did not. My initial thought watching the game live was, he must have played pretty well because Crosby, he made a couple plays here and there, but he wasn't terrorizing Tannehill every snap. Well, on further watch, I don't think Petit-Frere had a good game at all. He really struggled in that matchup with Crosby, which, look, third game in the NFL, Max Crosby. I'm not saying that we need to sound the alarm on Petit-Frere, but
No.
this is some of the stuff that you're going to see with a rookie tackle. Look, and you're seeing it with Evan Neal. You're seeing it with Ike Ekwonu. Those are both top 10 picks, and they're playing very poorly. But this was the very first play of the game.
This pretty much sums it up right here. This still.
Yeah, and this is, this is kind of the record scratch. So you might be wondering how I find myself in this predicament moment. But, yeah, not even close. Like, you're not
first
even
snap of the game.
Yeah, you're not even close to touching him. Barely laid a glove on him, and he's making the tackle in the backfield. So, again, tough matchup. I almost wonder if Petit-Frere isn't just going the wrong way here.
It's really strange how far out he goes.
Yeah, because this is duo. I mean, they are double teaming and then climbing, and I don't know why the right tackle. It almost looks like he thinks it's outside zone, and everyone else is running duo. Yeah, it is very odd, kind of his technique here. So I'm not sure what was going through his mind, but it almost looks like a mental bust as much as a physical one there. And then he's got another pretty bad whiff here.
I'm here on Malcolm Kuntz.
Malcolm Kuntz, yeah. So this isn't even Crosby. This one's a little tougher. Just nothing. Like you can't let a guy win inside on you like that, especially on this play again. I think this looks like, is this duo as well?
Yep.
It is. So yeah, they're running duo again. You cannot get beat inside on duo. Like you cannot get beat inside on duo. So I guarantee you they're harping on that this week with him after he got beat twice on the same play in the same way in this game. And look, it's tough. And that the tackles, I thought Daly was actually okay. They helped both tackles a lot in pass protection. Like it was very rare, honestly, that either of them were on an island. Usually it was a tight end on one side and then the back was chipping to the other side. So they were helping both tackles on most plays. Which is going to limit the offense to some degree if they have to continue to do that. But then they may have to. Right now they do. And I don't think that's going to change this week with Kwity Paye and Yannick Ngakoue on tap for the Colts. So Titans tackles are a major concern moving forward. The interior is playing really well on the offensive line. I think it's really down to these two tackles. I mean, Brewer, I think, did give up a pressure or two in this game in pass protection. I think he's always going to have a pressure or two. He's not a great pass blocker right now, but he is playing pretty well in the run game. At least he was this week for sure. So, yeah, the tackles to me, I don't know what you can do besides just hope they get better. I mean, and you would expect Petit-Frere, like you remember how bad Nate Davis was.
Yeah, with NPF, the ceiling is it's going to be growth over the season.
Yeah. And there's still like I'm not down on Petit-Frere by any means. I think he's going to be a really good player for them, and he's shown more flashes already than I feel like even Nate Davis had by this point as in his rookie season. So there's reason for optimism, but it's going to take a little bit before he's really a finished product and a guy that you can fully rely upon to execute, play in and play out. So, that's my rookie hate for the week goes on Nicholas.
So we got five more quick clips to get through, and it's a little bit more on the positive side. We've gone super long. It's not the end of the world that we've gone so long. I think people are really going to appreciate this in-depth breakdown and for free nonetheless, but we do have more to get to. So let's get through these last five real quick. The last portion of our film breakdown is going to be looking at the defensive side of the ball for the Titans. looking at their interior pass rush and how there's some promise there, but they need help.
Yeah, the interior pass rush, Autry, Simmons, they're playing really good football right now, and they're a load to handle on the interior for the Titans. And Weaver had his best game, in my opinion, so far against the Raiders. Obviously had the sack, had several other pressures, but they desperately need some more help because way too often what you're seeing right now with the Titans pass rush is one guy is getting pressure, and that is usually not enough to create a problem for the quarterback, especially because most of the time it's these interior guys, which, Autry and Simmons are great players, which here I absolutely love this play. Like Autry,
It's disgusting by Danico Autry right here. I love
Autry is
this
running
one.
a pick for Jeffrey Simmons, and that is maybe the most vicious pick I've ever seen set on an NFL offensive lineman. I mean, just
so unnecessary.
It's lovely. And then, obviously helps his buddy get some pressure here. The very next play is a very similar play. Like, again, Danico Autry just being an absolute bully to offensive linemen. But the problem is, you see these interior guys get pressure. Derek Carr is a very average, again, puts the guy on the ground, like just an absolute menace out there.
Just running over NFL offensive linemen casually. Doesn't seem to break a sweat or break his stride.
No, he's one of those guys that, like, you hear about guys that just love to hit. And I think that is Danico Autry to a T. This is also a phenomenal read and play by Jeffrey Simmons, who picks up on the screen very quickly, despite the fact that he's running a pass rush game here.
He disengages immediately, yeah.
And then just goes and claws him down. But look, Derek Carr is an average athlete. He's able to run away from guys like Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry, which Autry and Simmons are decent athletes for interior pass rushers, but you need a guy or two that can go hawk down a quarterback. That's what Harold Landry did so well for them the last few years. Bud Dupree can do that as well. Ola Adaney can do that. They need a couple of those guys on the field because Weaver's not that guy. Weaver doesn't have a lot of foot speed. DeMarcus Walker doesn't have a lot of foot speed. They were playing Derek Tuska and Wyatt Ray. Wyatt Ray, I thought, actually was okay in this game. But they need those guys on the field with them because you've got to be getting multiple guys in the backfield, and you've got to have someone back there athletic enough to actually finish the job. So here's another snap with Autry just giving a phenomenal rush. He was outstanding in this game.
Couple games in a row for him now.
Absolutely should have been intentional grounding. There's no way he's outside the pocket. So that the Carr should have had 2 intentional grounding penalties without a doubt in this game. This is one of them. And then the next one, again, is a similar play with Autry and Weaver working a stunt. But it's Autry's playing really good football right now. Obviously, last week being a revenge game for him against the Raiders. He gets another revenge game this week with the Colts. But watch Autry and Weaver on this left side. They run a little game. Weaver gets free. And again, this should be grounding. Like
they turned grounding off. They're in the Madden controls.
It was
Josh
unbelievable.
McDaniels turned grounding off here.
I mean, this one, he never moves.
Laterally, there's no movement. He moved straight backwards. Yeah.
And then he throws it behind the bench. I mean, what is grounding if not that? I just don't know.
It's ridiculous.
And then we can go to the last one here, which is really just to highlight some of the attention that Jeffrey Simmons gets as a pass rusher right now. He's playing at a really high level, and teams are respecting him to a huge degree. He's lined up really over the right tackle here with Weaver outside of him. And look at the left, or watch the right tackle, number 77, in his pass set. He's one-on-one with Weaver. He knows he is. He doesn't have any help to that side. But he's still so worried about Simmons that he is putting a hand in to try to help his right guard not get destroyed by Jeffrey Simmons. And that creates an opportunity for Weaver to just blow by him.
He's not expecting Weaver to have that kind of bend either. That's a really great play from Weaver.
It was a fantastic rush from Weaver, but it is certainly made easier by the
courtesy of Jeffrey Simmons. Yeah, the gravity of a player like Big Jeff.
Yeah, so that is the Jeff Simmons effect, and that is something that all Titans pass rushers benefit from when he's on the field.
All right, well, that is our film breakdown for today. I don't know how often we're going to be doing this. Let us know. Feedback is a gift. If you really enjoyed this and want to see more of it, then let us know on Twitter. Let us know via DMs, or if you have Facebook and you see this on Facebook, make sure to let us know there. Let us know in the replies to the podcast version of the show. Let us know in the comments of the YouTube video that you're probably watching this on. We want to hear what your thoughts on this are, and maybe we'll do it more often. Could be a every so often thing. We might throw in a little bit of film breakdown in each and every episode. We'll see going forward, but I think that was really interesting and informative. I hope you guys at home enjoyed that as well. That is the end of the road, though. For our free listeners, you got extra portion of Mike Herndon Show this week. It should last you enough to survive to your next free meal from the Mike Herndon Show. I don't know. I hope you gobbled it all up and you can savor it until then, because it won't be like this each and every week. If you want the full show and you want this much Mike Herndon Show plus more, you got to become a Broadway Insider today. Go to BroadwaySportsMedia.com. You get this show in its entirety in video and audio form. You also get access to some of our premium articles, early access to some of our premium articles. You get access to special fantasy leagues throughout the year. You get access. We got some ideas and fun plans coming up in the future for even more access to us here at Broadway, and some of the best insider access for Titans, Nashville SC, soon to be Predators content that there is. We're really excited about it, and you should join now, because there's never going to be a time where you can get it for a more affordable price. The base price of just $6.99 a month. It's a trip to Starbucks. I don't know how poor you might think you are, but I'm almost positive you can afford to not go to Starbucks once this month to get all of this great content. And you can get that first month for just 99 cents if you use code INSIDER today when you sign up. And then if you use code ANNUAL, you can get the $69.99 annual pass. You don't have to worry about it all year. One payment and you got the whole calendar year. You can get that for just $49.99 right now if you use code ANNUAL. So go and sign up today. Get the rest of this episode. But everyone listening for free, we got to kick you out now as we get into the rest of the Mike Herndon Show, where we're going to be breaking down a lot more, talking about the Titans versus Colts, first divisional game coming up this weekend. Big matchup, a lot to talk about. Some Jim Irsay slander, maybe, definitely. And then we got some Moneymaker Mike segment coming up, where we're going to be dropping some bets on you, making our insiders that money that they paid to be in here, making it back this week, each and every week from here on out to the rest of the season. A ton of stuff that you're missing if you're not an insider, so go sign up today.